There are people just bursting to give out their personality. There's not enough painters in this world. If somebody has a go, the most important thing is to keep speaking the truth. At any time, love's on the line. Now, this is the scariest thing you can have in the world of art, of creativity. It's called the blank space. We're going to make a major attempt to embarrass myself by claiming that I have some right to be in the community of creative howlers, creative howlers. That's what we are. Let's get this right.
Throughout his life, almost any sort of creative thing that he has done, there's almost been that element of self-doubt. And I think for a lot of creatives or artists, that often sits there. Is this good enough? Am I good enough? And what I'd hope from this exhibition is that he starts to see, feel and truly experience that he is good enough. What he's challenging us to think, feel, question, look at, ponder about ourselves, ponder about the world seen and unseen is really quite powerful.
Painters build space for people to have lives, and we put ourselves out there and try and look civilised and decent within the space. You know, I'm a great believer of space.
Where have all the flowers gone?
I met Michael in 1972. He was in third year university. His honours degree is in history. I was quite young, I was 17 and he must have been 19. And yeah, okay, the first time I saw him, or the first time I noticed him, he was playing guitar and mucking around.
Was it just a hippie dream?
But he was actually incredibly shy, so I had to make all the moves. Michael worked he did everything from tutoring through to lecturing, through to delivering telegraphs. He's been a writer, he's been an academic, he's been a journalist. And then he worked at Ogilvy and Mather for a long time. Then once he got to creative director, he was too individualistic. You know, he got to where he got to on talent, and then after that, you needed to be yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. And that was when we started our business of our own. I think we were in Boomerang for, I don't know, 15 years or however long that was. We had Toyota as one of our main, clients, and we just made it work. And we had 3 fairly small children. And Jessica tells the story of, what does your father do, Jessica? Oh, he yells a lot and fires people. And that was the impression that she had gotten from him at work.
Dad has always been a challenger. He's always been a disruptor. He's always been someone who will question it publicly if need be, and that's what made him a brilliant creative director in advertising and marketing, because he would always come at it almost from like a different perspective. Everyone else would see this way and he'd go, hang on, what if we look at like this way? Which is challenging to us when someone does that.
Michael was very much about breaking as many barriers as you could. Like traditional creatives, he would fight for an idea. In the end, when it was right and the client understood it, you had great work. He'd come straight from university at 32 to a job in a creative department to a creative director at 34 or 5. He sometimes was a little unsubtle in the way he spoke to people because he didn't know anything else.
Michael he wasn't just a creative director, he was, across this new marketing. He was a marketer, he was the editor of Marketing Magazine. And he was the guy, and I was so I'm so scared of it. Because those were the sort of days as well when the creative director and the creatives kind of ruled supreme. Not that he set out to be like that. He was just such a powerful, omnipresent human being, and his ideas and his thinking was so quick, and he was just like a genius.
Michael's just his determination. He always, it seemed he pulled a rabbit out of the hat. We were going broke and suddenly he would come up with a piece of business, he'd do something. I always admired him for that grit and determination. You know, so many times he pulled us through.
Buy a copy of Revolution.
Dad has Parkinson's disease and he has been living with that for over 20 years now. Progress of that has been quite slow, except for really these last few years, where you can significantly see that there is a difficulty movement-wise, control of movement, control of the facial features, but even just the ability to take all those amazing ideas that he has in his mind and find the ability to actually speak them is becoming more and more difficult. With Parkinson's also comes depression, dementia tendencies as well. And then you add on top of that he's gone through 2 lots of cancer. The most recent one, he took on immunotherapy, and there's not been many patients who've used immunotherapy who have Parkinson's. So they weren't sure how that was actually going to go, if it was actually going to work at all, nor the side effects of it too. But he took that on as a risk because he wanted more time. He wanted more time.
I'm in the state of confusion. Painting it is giving me much more energy.
When I see these artworks again, particularly the really intricate ones, the ones that have taken, like to draw a line, imagine drawing a line with Parkinson's when you don't control how much shake is there. And some of those are just so intricate and so carefully done, but that's how determined he is. I don't remember him painting as a child, where we grew up in Maroubra and then in the Hills District in Sydney. He was in the creative industry in terms of advertising and marketing, but he didn't paint at that time. He was a musician. His painting really started in Orange. When Dad starts off doing something creative, it comes in a flourish and a flood. Like I remember when he wrote music, he didn't just write 1 or 2 songs, it was 50 songs.
He had not picked up a paintbrush before we came here. He thought he might look at painting, but he had no confidence. And so when we went to the shop, there was canvases there and there were paintbrushes there. So we got some and he just started. And then in a pattern that he has repeated several times, he goes into a creative, nothing else matters, doesn't matter if you're the king or the queen, he's just focused. So then it just started pouring out of him.
It's like we were arriving at the hospital, the woman was about to give birth. There was no stopping. Bang. So the same process can work for any medium. I would recommend it. It's something that happens.
Sometimes we can experience, or we see as people age, that their worlds become a whole lot smaller. They don't want to explore as much, or there's more fear, I guess, that kind of can take over, and they're wanting to control that environment, and often that means the world gets smaller as we age. What I love about these artworks is clearly for my dad, his world has widened. Or perhaps his world was always expanded in terms of his perception of things, but having the time, the literal physical space to then be able to put that expanded sense of the world onto a canvas, yeah, it really does help us to see that aging doesn't have to mean that life becomes smaller or less. It can actually be a really expansive stage of life for us.
I really get excited by abstract anything. You know, if you put that in your dining room and people would ask what it's about, it's a soft way to launch a conversation. I don't know, what do you think it's about? And then it leads you to a point which flushes people out without offending them immediately and revealing that they're fucking idiots. It's a means of winning an argument before it starts.
Dad loves a good joke, and he doesn't mind being the joke. Or, you know, seeing the light-hearted, humorous side of things. It's always been like that. You ask anyone who has known him before, worked with him before, that spirit, that sense of, you know, lightness of life and seeing the funny side is one of his traits that people have loved and make him very magnetic. Yes, I have cancer. Yes, I have Parkinson's. Yes, I'm going to die. But let's find the light side. Let's almost make fun of it in a way so that it doesn't pull us down and it becomes a terrible experience, right? He loves the light side. He loves the humor. And that's why, even why the exhibition is called My Kids Could Do That. Because when we started to talk about putting on the exhibition, and traditionally exhibitions have to be given a name, right? So what should we call it? And he has a little laugh to himself around, well, you know, people often say about abstract art, oh, my kids could do that because it's just a piece of blue and black on the page. They can just do that. And why are people paying $1 million for it?
This was the product of 2 pen strokes. Some people see a dog in there. I don't. Everyone can see it's a horse. It's like an Arab horse. The point that this makes, and something more complex, is that whatever's in there, and it's got to come out, and it's going to come out in a certain way. Just hang out and feel it.
He never sets out to paint anything in particular. It is what occurs on the page when he's doing it. I actually think that he sees differently, especially now. And I mean, he can have hallucinations and things. For us to think that this is all there is, you know, that's just some norm that we've all bought into.
Part of the promotion of this exhibition is that he is going to die. And we don't know when that is. And yes, that is in some ways heartbreaking, but in other ways, wouldn't you prefer to have your wake before the funeral? And that's kind of what this is a little bit like. So he jokes that you're buying his artwork now is a great investment because he's probably going to die soon and that artwork will increase in value. And that is of benefit to whoever purchases it. And he laughs as he says that.
There was a story about Elvis Presley. One of the American music industry experts, when told that Elvis had died, he said, "Good career move." So death can increase the value of your portfolio. I am using this pricing technique to leverage the marketplace. Not only do you get a good painting, you get a bonus. Okay. This is the part where you pull out the $70,000.